The key to this transformation lies in feeling the futility of the situation, experiencing the sadness and disappointment that comes from it. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. All right, welcome everybody. Connect Method Parenting is a very sturdy, confident leadership way of parenting, fueled by so much awareness around the importance of attachment and togetherness. Okay, so I want to quickly talk about the path from mad to sad, because I don't think people talk about this out there. I forget that people don't talk about this. It's one of my favorite things. But when facing separation that is unchangeable, or having a disappointment that is unchangeable, like let's use a friend not inviting your child to their birthday party, the death of a loved one, somebody moving, simply not getting what you want, getting an F on the test, your child getting a no, they can't go out with friends because they haven't cleaned their room, or we're not going to have that snack because dinner's in 5 minutes. They're going to be frustrated. They're going to feel disconnected. Nature provides a powerful path to resolution through adaptation, the process which Dr. Neufeld often describes as mad to sad. I also say resistance to surrender. It's when we go from this isn't okay and I don't like it to futility. I don't think I can do about it. I'm going to surrender to what is. Us understanding the path for ourselves personally, going through that is going to change our life. It's going to increase our emotional capacity. And as a result, we're going to help our kids go through that same journey over and over and over again. Encountering futility. I like to think about it as the gateway to adaptation. We have to understand how we gain emotional maturity. There is so much talk out there about regulation and breathing and all of that. And I love it all. I love it all. I'm all for it, all of it. However, what's missing in those conversations is how do we create the conditions that are conducive for emotional growth and maturity? So I can use the box breathing, I can do tapping, I can do meditation. I do all of these things, by the way. Putting my feet in the ground, chewing gum, swinging, all of the things that help my nervous system regulate. And I can do them in a way that provides relief, which I think is important, but without understanding how to provide relief and eventually, when it's the right time, to allow someone to fully process, metabolize an emotion, we're missing a big part of the equation. We don't understand how emotional growth happens. It comes from feeling the emotion, not just getting ourselves to calm down. And really, I can get myself to calm down without feeling the emotion all the way through, without letting it create more emotional maturity, without going through the adaptation process. So let's talk about how we can marry some of the great techniques that a lot of you probably know: breathing, meditating, sitting in contemplative prayer, moving your body. Physical things like swings are great. Chewing gum creates saliva, which indicates that we're safe to our nervous system. Breathing out longer than in. There's ways to do things where you pull your ear down, things like that, which are all, again, so helpful. But let's use them as a gateway to adaptation. So the journey begins when the brain registers that a situation is futile. It can't be changed. And give me 1 second. I gotta take a sip. This is important because our lives are filled with things that we cannot change. I want to go outside, but it's raining. I want to have a different kind of dinner, but mom cooked the wrong thing. My clothes are dirty. There's traffic. I don't want to play with this toy. I don't want to go to bed. Filled with futility. I didn't get the raise I wanted. We have to move. Winter's coming. So encountering futility begins when the brain registers that a situation is futile. It can't be changed. The situation, no matter what I do, it can't be changed. I can't stop it. The train is on the tracks. It is going. Dad has said no. It's 8 o'clock. It's time for bed. This is what we're having for dinner. Whatever it is. The kids are a disaster tonight and so loud and the house is a mess and there's nothing I can do about it other than deal with the mess. So when the primal emotion of pursuit, alarm, and frustration are unable to solve the problem, when mom says you don't get a cookie because it's dinner in an hour and I don't want you to have a cookie, they're going to be frustrated. They're going to not feel like it's okay. So they're going to have those 3 primal emotions. And if they can't solve the problem, then there's going to be a problem. And here is, you won't be able to see my face for a minute, but you don't need to see my face. Here is the traffic circle of big emotions. So you can see something doesn't work. So we enter. And then we want to change the situation. We want resolution. And sometimes that's possible. Sometimes we might say, sure, you can have a cookie, or bedtime can be pushed back 30 minutes. Or say we're frustrated about the house being a mess and we find out that the cleaners are coming, or our husband says, hey, I'll just take care of it. There are different ways that situations can be resolved without us having to do anything with our emotions around it. Because if it's resolved, if the child gets a cookie, if bedtime gets pushed back, then there's nothing to be upset about. The thing that didn't work now works. So they changed the situation and there was resolution. This is always where we go first. Whether you're thinking of your child or you're always going to try to change the situation first. Now, if you can't change the situation, exit 2, which is an amazing exit, is the change yourself, adapt exit. It's where you're going to feel the emotions from mad to sad, resistance to futility, or surrender. And the nervous system is going to say, oh, we can feel super frustrated and everything's okay. And emotional maturity happens in exit 2. But exit 2 is not always available. Maybe we said, no, you can't have the cookie, and everything is falling apart. The kids are screaming, and I don't have the time to sit down and talk to my child or to provide a safe environment for them to feel their emotions because I'm really triggered right now, or I just don't have the physical capacity because I've got other people who need something. So we can't do exit 2. So exit 3, and I put foul frustration, attacking energy. That's typically what it looks like. There is a way to move emotions out. I keep thinking I'm going to add the exit 2A where you move them out productively, but it's the emotions didn't get resolved by the change. They weren't able to be felt all the way through. And so if they don't get out another way, and this is where we can use some of those breathing techniques, go move your body, go punch a pillow, get the emotions out somehow. And everyone has different ways. Some like to scream, some like to yell, some throw. And kids tend to have a little bit more physical way. They seem to be more prone to behave their emotions, to act out their emotions. So there's a little let's pretend there's a little mid exit here. I should really add that. But if they can't do that and we're unable to help them and they are getting so triggered, then we might have some foul frustration and attacking energy happening. This would look like them screaming, hitting, throwing, that kind of thing. For us, we're not going to probably be that uncivilized about it, but it could be us getting irritated and annoyed and we're snapping at people and we are losing our mind and can't handle anybody and we think we're just about to explode. Okay, any questions about that? So if possible, we want to take that exit 2. Let me show it to you again. That second exit, change yourself, adapt. That's the exit where emotional maturity can happen. Now, all the exits we're going to honor. And we've all taken all of the exits, but I want to specifically talk about the gateway to adaptation. So we can't change it. And thank goodness the brain has another solution to adapt to the reality of our situation. This adaptation, it's not really a cognitive skill. I hear people say, we're going to teach you how to be more in control of yourself. If that worked, I would be, I think all of us, right? We all know what to do. I don't want to lose my brain. I don't want to lose my mind when my kids do stuff. If there was a skill that I could retrieve in the moment and override this primal emotional stack that's coming up, I would do it. But it's not a skill. We use cognition to help, but the emotional maturity is spontaneous, and we use cognition to set ourselves up to have our brains do what it does. So again, the adaptation process is not a cognitive skill that can be taught, but an emotional process that happens spontaneous when conditions are conducive. It doesn't have to happen every single time our child doesn't get what they want. It doesn't have to happen every single time we don't get what we want. But when we can have space to feel our emotions, let's do it. This adaptation process, this emotional process of feeling mad, going from I'm so mad about the cookie to I'm just sad, it's still really disappointing, but I'm not mad about it anymore. Or I'm resisting the state of my house to surrendering, this is what is, and we're going to figure it out. That journey from mad to sad, where the limbic system is in fight or flight, or you could say the nervous system is in fight or flight, to back to regulation, back to calmness. This is the process of becoming changed by that which we cannot change. So I can't change the fact that my house is a mess. I can't change the fact that I can't get a cookie. I can't change the fact that the weather is the way it is or the traffic is the way it is. So can I allow this situation that I cannot change to change me? The key to this transformation lies in feeling the futility of the situation, experiencing the sadness and disappointment that comes from it. So you have to be able to feel empty before you can feel full. This process of feeling futility is essentially a form of grieving. It is represented by an hourglass model where a person moves through the stuck emotions of frustration and alarm to the release of sadness and tears. And I have to say, crying is an incredible, powerful resolution. When a child or an adult has a good cry over something that cannot be changed, it signifies that the brain has let go of the resistance and is adapting. Now, there is a difference between the mad cry and the sad cry. And I'm talking about when we get to the sad, grieving cry. Oh, I'm so disappointed. I'm so sad. I'm not upset about it. I'm sad. I'm accepting of it. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength and resilience and growth. This emotional release allows the nervous system to shift from activated or the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight, to the restorative or the parasympathetic state, bringing rest and relief. The brain recalibrates. It recognizes, hey, we survived the disappointment, so survival is not at stake. We can handle that emotion. We can handle disappointment. We can handle that situation or that emotion. And then it builds a deeper sense of inner confidence. This is a big one. I want everyone just to, if you've heard it 100 times or one time, really let it sink in and see where you are in understanding it and recognizing the power of it, feeling the reality of it. One of my favorite studies that I've read about this is they've measured, I don't know how they did this, but they measured the tears of young toddlers when they went from mad to sad, the angry, mad tears that they cry when they're throwing their fit and the tears are coming out, to the tears of surrender and sadness. And what they found is that the chemical composition is different, that the tears of sadness have the chemicals that are creating that fight or flight response inside of our body. They're in those tears being released. The body's saying, I don't need these anymore. We're totally fine. We can get rid of them. And I love that. I love this very physical, concrete manifestation of something that's happening in a deeper way inside of our body that's a little bit more elusive. And they've also found that the brain scans, not on the toddlers, they've done this on older kids, but of a brain that's allowed to go through this process of mad to sad, the brain changes, going back to that spontaneous thing that happens in our brain that we really don't even understand, other than we know it happens when we provide the conditions and that they're conducive. Now, safety is essential for this to happen. For this emotional conversion to happen, a person must be in an environment where they feel safe to feel vulnerable emotions. They need to feel their emotions without judgment and in a place where they won't be shamed to or told to get over it. Dr. Neufeld did a lot of work in juvenile delinquency halls, I don't know what you call them, where they had locked up young adults that were 14 to 17. And when he was talking with them, he would ask them, have you ever been able to be sad about this? Or grandma died, or this disappointing thing happened. And they're like, no, that would not be okay. No one would allow me to be that way. Either I would be told to get over it, or I wouldn't want someone to see me like that. It would be too scary. It would be too risky for me. This essential element of safety is critical. And when they started to provide safe environments for these youth to feel their emotions, things did start to shift. So it's never too late. It's never too late. So successfully moving from mad to sad cultivates incredible strength and emotional maturity. It's the fruits of this adaptive process. So resilience, it cultivates the strength to face future separations, including rejection, disappointment, disapproval, isolation, loneliness. The bounce back after feeling the tears is almost automatic. They start to feel more empowered. It doesn't impact them the same way. Acceptance, that's another fruit of this, is it builds the ability to accept limitations, restrictions, and things not going one's way, to be able to accept it without having a big blow up. And mixed feelings, which is also something that, and all of this does need to correlate with their just physical maturity. The brain has to be ready to start feeling more complex emotions, or what Dr. Neufeld calls mixed emotions, which happens typically around 7 to 9 is when they start coming on. And mixed emotions is a really beautiful hallmark of emotional maturity. It's the ability to hold double emotions or mixed feelings. Part of me is really scared to go on this trip, but part of me wants to go. The capacity for integrative functioning is essential for navigating the complexities of life. And that's what we start to develop as we have opportunities to feel the mad to sad and to then have the brain that's able to start, the prefrontal cortex starts coming on between 7 and 9. And so we have more abilities to feel the balance, to be able to be tempered, to have a good temperament, which is where that comes from, to be able to have a little bit of mad and a little bit of sad, a little bit of scared and a little bit of resilience. I'm ready to do this even though it's scary. So before this development, before the mixed feelings come on, again, you're not going to see it until 7 to 9 at the earliest. And I'm finding it in the families I work with, it's later and later for many reasons. Not always, but if it's later than that, don't worry. Dr. Neufeld said in these 17-year-olds he was working with in the juvenile prisons, they didn't have mixed emotions and they were 17, but it came on as they were able to feel their emotions more deeply. So yes, we might have the hardware for it in our brain, but is it able to do anything about it? That's another thing. The prefrontal cortex starts coming on between 7 and 9, but then it won't grow and develop unless the conditions are conducive. But before that, if you have a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, they're not going to have the capacity to hold mixed emotions. They're a one emotion driver. And if you have a child with any type of struggle of any kind, it might be much later than that as well. So just notice, are they able to say, whether it's in the moment or out of the moment, we want it in the moment, but you'll start to see out of the moment first. Part of me wants to hit my sister and part of me loves my sister and doesn't want to hit her, that kind of thing. So before that, they're one emotion drivers. They're either all mad or they're not mad at all. Okay, courage is another thing that comes as a fruit of resilience and maturity. Courage isn't the absence of alarm or fear, but the ability to not let alarm get in the way of life. It requires the ability to hold the mixed feelings. Part of me is really scared, but part of me is committed to this, to feel the dragon of alarm while pursuing the treasure of one desires. This allows a person to move forward despite feeling scared, which is a wonderful and healthy resolution. All right, you all, have an awesome rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon. If you enjoyed this episode, you're going to want to check out the 8-week parenting pivot, which is the first phase of my program, the League of Extraordinarily Connected Parents. We're opening up a new round in October. So if you're listening to this live, it's going to be October 7th. If you're listening to this and that date has passed, go check out the website, connectmethodparenting.com, and we'll list the next time we're opening. But if you're listening to this live, go check it out because you can already apply and get accepted into the next round so that you can lock yourself in place to have a huge shift with your kids, to get them to want to listen to you, which is very different than using punishments, rewards, timeouts, ultimatums to get them to listen to you. We want it to be more cooperative. We want better listening. We want a great relationship, and we want to have a ton of fun when we're parenting. So if that's what you want, if what I talked about in this episode resonated, jump over to cmp.works/pivot. I'll put the link in the show notes as well, and find out more about the pivot, apply to join, and we'll let you know if you get in. All right. Until next time, go connect with your kids, have a blast, and pop back in for another episode soon about how to use connection, not correction, to get your kids to want to listen to you. See you later. Bye.